Hi everyone. Firstly, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody. Honestly, like, I can't be more grateful for the amount of support that we've had since I posted the video about Luca's heart condition. Everyone's been so supportive, so kind, so helpful, and yeah, not that I didn't expect it, but it's just really nice to know that the support is there. So thank you so much. Also, obviously on Instagram and media and everything recently, there's so much kind of horrible things in the world. So I'm just super grateful that we had all the support, all the medical help that we needed to make sure Luca survived, because I 100% know that if Luca wasn't born where he was born, that he just definitely would not have survived. Like, he wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for us just being so lucky to be in the right place. So yeah, I think it just makes you look at life a lot differently. I had mentioned that I wanted to talk also about my birth story. So obviously, because of Luca's condition, my whole birth plan of wanting to have a natural vaginal, however you want to call it, birth kind of went out of the window. So Luca obviously had to be born via C-section, so everything was planned, as I think I'd mentioned this, because we needed to make sure that the doctor who may have to place a balloon inside his heart to keep the duct open is available. Hopefully the hormone was going to work, so we didn't need that. Thankfully it did work, so he didn't end up needing the balloon septostomy. Obviously these people need to be available, so his birth was very much planned. We had a C-section appointment on the 7th of March, which is really weird because 11 years ago to that day is the day that I met Dan. 7th of March 2014 we joined Emirates together, so it was a bit of a weird sign that we had all his checkup for his C-section that day. Anyway, going off on a tangent. So yeah, we had the appointment then, and the elected C-section was booked for the 11th of March. So the night before, obviously you have to fast, you have to take medication for the C-section. We went to bed early because we had to be at the hospital for 7 AM. So yeah, I was a bit grumpy because I'd not eaten, and then I didn't sleep, because how do you sleep when, you know, the next day you're going to be having your baby? So yeah, we went to hospital and everything had to be planned, but I didn't think that it wouldn't go ahead that day. We waited. People kept coming out to tell us, look, we just want to explain what's going on. So midwife and surgeon came out to speak to us, and they told us that the problem is there is no bed available in the neonatal unit. They don't want to go ahead with the C-section. They're going to keep waiting, so if we don't mind waiting, they're going to keep checking, because they have a review every so often. They go and check, and if someone's been discharged, then of course we can go ahead with the C-section. However, Luca was so much safer inside me, and they didn't want to obviously deliver him if they've got nowhere to put him. He would need to be somewhere special to look after him. I don't know, the stars had to be aligned for him to be born that day and for them to go ahead with the C-section. The stars were not aligned, so at about 1:30, I can't remember when it was exactly, the surgeon that would be performing the C-section, she came out and she said, look, you've been fasting for a long time and you're pregnant. We don't want to keep you waiting any longer. I don't want to go ahead with the C-section, so grab something to eat. We left, we went and had something to eat, and we went back to the apartment that we were renting, because we were renting somewhere which was going to expire that week. So we were hoping the C-section was going to go ahead, because we'd have to find somewhere else to live. Anyway, so we went home, and they just said, look, fast again tonight and just do the whole procedure all over again. We will call you in the morning, please don't come to hospital. The next morning came, the 12th of March, and they called us to say, look, there's no neonatal bed, there is no bed in Great Ormond Street, so we're gonna have to do the same thing again tomorrow, which was the 13th of March. Obviously it's not a nice thing to be waiting around. I'm just mentioning this because I wasn't aware that this could happen. No one had really mentioned that a C-section might not go ahead. I didn't know that, so I wanted to mention it in case other people have had that and they're like, why me? No, it happened to us as well. I think I checked my phone, and at 12 something, I think it was like 1:45, we get a call from the hospital And yes, there was a bed available in neonatal, and they told us get a taxi straight away and come to hospital because we will do the C-section. Bearing in mind that was at 1:45. Luca was actually born at 3:15, so you can imagine what a whirlwind that was. So we got to the hospital, we kind of got put straight through, and they put the cannula in my hand. We went through to theatre. To be honest, after a stressful, not a stressful pregnancy, but like, you have a lot on your mind and you're worrying constantly. I was scared I was going to go into early labour in Malta. So having a planned C-section and having everything so calm before having him was the best thing in the world. We walked in, we put our playlist on, we'd created a Spotify playlist. Dan was sat at the top with me. So yeah, the epidural happened. It took a while. She told me it's taken a little bit of time because I'm so tall for the anaesthetic to work. Then they told me they were going to start, and we discussed that we want the curtain down when he's born. So yeah, there was a lot of pulling, tugging, but you can feel like someone pulling your skin. And they were, yeah, Dan said he could hear them tugging. I had the worst, my teeth were chattering, I was freezing. They told me that it's quite a normal, common side effect of the anaesthetic. Like, I couldn't even hear anything else other than my teeth chattering. Dan was like, babe, are you okay? I was like, I don't even know. They told us that the baby is about to come out. So just to look, Dan had his phone ready and we had time to take pictures. And she pulled the curtain down and there he was, our little baby. It was beautiful, honestly. Like, it was the most magical experience ever. He actually cried. I was expecting him not to cry, but he cried, and it was super, super loud. Luca was born 15-14, then became the challenge and the tough part. Yeah, it was really difficult, to be honest, and I want to talk about it because I want other people to know it's like, you're not alone in feeling this. But when he was born, we couldn't hold him. He was taken from, obviously he was delivered, and we saw him, we took a picture, we heard him crying, and then they took him straight away to another room. But thankfully they took Dan through to the stabilising room. They did a kind of scan of his heart. So they started to administer the hormone prostim just to keep that hole open to make sure that the blood is mixing. However, his oxygen started to drop, so he was put on a breathing apparatus straight away. Dan was there when he started to lose oxygen, so he was quite blue. And yeah, so I don't know why that makes me really upset, but Dan had to leave. So Dan had to leave them while they sorted him out and gave him oxygen and brought him round. We could go up and see him whenever we wanted, we could call whenever we wanted. After that, they obviously stitched me up, so me and Dan were together, and they wheeled me out and I went into a recovery room. There was a lovely lady, she made me a cup of tea, best cup of tea in the world, and some biscuit. I scoffed them. They told me to eat slowly, but clearly didn't listen to them and just threw up. Eventually then they moved me up to the actual ward. The difficult part was on the ward, which I'm just going to prepare you for if you ever have to have your baby taken and sent to intensive care. In the labour ward, I was actually with other moms that had their babies. That was quite difficult. They all had their babies and the babies were crying, and yeah, and you just feel really, really alone because I'd just been pregnant for 9 months. I'd just had a baby and my baby wasn't there. Like, he wasn't with me. He was somewhere else in the hospital. But I know that this had to happen for him to be with us for the rest of his life. So I got discharged 24 hours later, and then 3 o'clock the next morning is when Luca decided he wanted to go to Great Ormond Street. But his oxygen dropped kind of to such a low rate that they had to get the ambulance in. And yeah, they transported him to Great Ormond Street about 5 o'clock on the Saturday, which was 15th of March. So 2 days later after he was born, he was transferred to Great Ormond Street and we could finally breathe. I will talk about his surgery, about the steps in the hospital, because I know I had so many questions when it happened to us. Thank you so much again for all your support. It means the entire world. Honestly, it really does. So yeah, bye.